So how are you today?
I'm fine.
Good.
Good.
Beltran, do you know when you get to go back to school yet?
No,
No. And at Contron, at your school, you haven't had to stop because of COVID?
No.
No. Okay. Okay, well, I hope you don't have to. It's getting much, much better here. So I hope it gets much better at your house too. Okay, do you have your answers to your questions?
yes,
Miss.
Okay, I will read the question and then Contron, you read me your answer and then Beltran, you read yours, okay?
okay.
Chapter 9, number 1, literal question. What did Annemarie learn about Aunt Birte?
There's no Aunt Birte.
There wasn't any Aunt Birte.
Very good. Number 2, what does Annemarie learn about bravery in her talk with Uncle Henrik?
It's easy to be brave if you don't know everything.
It's easy to be brave if you don't know everything.
And the inferential questions. Number 1, why did Ellen make a sharp cry when she went outside with Henrik?
Because Ellen was excited to see her parents.
Because she was excited to see her parents.
Good. Number 2, why didn't Annemarie tell Ellen the truth about Aunt Berta?
Because Annemarie wasn't protecting Ellen.
Because she wanted to protect her.
Right, she wanted to protect her. Good. Number 3, why was Kirsty sent to bed before Aunt Berta's funeral?
Because she wouldn't know what was happening.
Because she was sent to bed, so she wouldn't know what happened and so she wouldn't ask questions.
Right. Opinion questions. Who do you think the people arriving for the funeral really are?
Just all arriving from funeral really.
I think it's a group of people of Uncle Henrik knew.
Okay. Number 2, why did Mrs. Johansen and Uncle Henrik create the death of an Aunt Berta?
Because they want to fool the Germans and help the Jews.
Because they want to save all the Jews so the Jews could come to the house and come to the backyard, get into the boat and leave Denmark and go to Sweden.
Good. Chapter 10, let us open the casket. Literal questions. Number 1, why did the German soldiers come to Uncle Henrik's house?
The German soldiers came to Uncle Henrik's house because they saw an unusual amount of people at the house.
Yes.
Because there were people gathering at the home.
Yes. Number 2, what was the first test of Annemarie's bravery?
Lying to the soldiers about who funeral was for.
Okay.
Her first test was to lie about Great Aunt Birte being in the casket.
Yes. Number 3, how did Mrs. Johansen stop the German soldiers from looking in the casket?
Mrs. Johansen stopped the German soldiers from looking in the cases by telling them that Aunt Birte had devils and that it was still contagious.
Contagious.
Mr. Johnson stopped the German soldiers from looking in the casket by telling them that Aunt Bertie had typhus and that it was still contagious.
Okay, inferential questions. Why was Peter's reading from the Bible so important?
Jesus talked about the rebuilding of Jerusalem and that he will heal the broken spirits. Peter reads the punches in case the shoulders are still outside listening in. He picks a page at random, is prevalent, and describes how God helped the Israelites.
Israelites.
Israelite.
He
Okay.
comes from the Bible to calm people and to give strength. Here the title of the book comes into play. Stars are like spirits and this prison life. Also, if the soldiers were listening, they would think it was a real funeral.
Right. And you could say represent. The word represent. Okay. Number 2, why did Ellen not smile when she looked at Annemarie during the fake funeral?
Ellen didn't smile because she thought Annemarie and her family were sad.
Ellen didn't smile because she didn't know it was fake yet and told the people were sad.
Okay. Opinion questions. Number 1, what do you think would have happened if the German soldiers discovered the truth about the funeral?
I think the soldiers will kill the people who made the funeral.
I think they will be very surprised and think that there is no Aunt Birte.
And number 2, what do you think is really in the casket?
I think it is full of clothes and blankets.
I think there's nothing here. There's nothing there.
Okay, and now we will read and see about it. Okay, let's turn to chapter 11. And Tran, would you start?
Okay, we will see you again soon, Peter. Emily blinked. Across the dark room, she saw Ellen too, peering into the narrow wooden box in surprise. There was no one in the castle at all. Instead, it seemed to be stocked with food, blankets, and articles of clothing. Peter began to lift the things out and distribute them to the silent people in the room. He handed heavy clothes to the man and wife, and another to the old man with the bird. It will
Beard.
be beard.
Beard.
It will be very cold, he murmured. Put them on. He found a thick sweater for Mrs. Rosen and a woolen jacket for Ellen's father. After a moment of rummaging through the folded things, he found a smaller winter jacket and handed it to Ellen. Annemarie watched as Ellen took the jacket in her arms and looked at it. It was patched and worn. It was true that there had been few new clothes for anyone during the recent years, but still, Ellen's mother had always managed to make clothes for her daughter, often using old things that she had able to take apart and refashion in a way that made them seem brand new. Never had Ellen worn anything so shabby and old. But she put it on, pulled it around her, and pretended the mismatched buttons. Peter, his arms full of the odd pieces of clothing, looked toward the silent couple with the infant. I'm sorry, he said to them. There's nothing for a baby. I will find something, Mama said quickly. The baby must be warm. She left the room and was back in a moment with Kirsty thick red sweater. Here, she said softly to the mother. It will be much too big, but that will make it even warmer for him. The woman spoke for the first time. She whispered. She's a girl. Her name is Rachel. Mama smiled and had her direct the sleeping baby's arm into the sleeve of the sweater. Together they buttoned the heart-shaped buttons. How Kirsty loved the sweater with its heart buttons. until the tiny child was completely encased in a warm red pool. Her eyelids flushed, but she
Fluttered.
didn't
Fluttered.
flutter. But she didn't wake. Peter reached into his pocket and took something out. He went to the parents and leaned down toward the baby. He opened the lid of the small bottle in his hand. How much does she weigh? Peter asked. She was 7 pounds and she was born. The young woman replied. She gained a little, but not very much. Maybe she weighs 8 pounds now. No more. A few drops will be enough. Then it has no taste. She won't even notice. The mother tightened her arms around the baby and looked up at Peter, pleading, "Please, no," she said. "She always sleeps all night. Please, she doesn't need it. I promise she won't cry." Peter's voice was frightened. "We can take a chance," he said. He inserted the dropper of the bottle into the baby's tiny mouth and squeezed a few drops of liquid onto her tongue. The baby yawned and swallowed. The mother closed her eyes. Her husband gripped her shoulders. Next, Peter removed the folded blankets from the coffin one by one and handed them around. "Carry these with you," he said. "You will need them later for warmth." Annemarie mother moved around the room and gave each person a small package of food. The cheese and bread and apples that Annemarie had helped her prepare in the kitchen hours before. Finally, Peter took a paper wrap packet from inside of his old jacket. He looked around the room at the innocent people now dressed in the bulky winter clothing, and then motioned to Mr. Rosen, who followed him to the home. Annemarie could overheard their conversations. "Mr. Rosen," Peter said, "I must get this to Henrik, but I might not to see him. I am going to take the others only to the harbor and then we go to the boat alone. I want you to deliver this without fail,
Deliver.
without
Deliver.
deliver, without fail. It is of great importance." There was a moment of silence in the hall, and Emery knew that Peter must be giving the packet to Mr. Rosen's. Emery could see it protruding from Mr. Rosen's pocket when he returned to the room and sat down again. She could see, too, that Mr. Rosen had a puzzled look. He didn't know what the packet contained. He hadn't asked. It was one more time Annemarie realized when they protect one another by not telling. If Mr. Rosen knew, he might be frightened. If Mr. Rosen knew, he might be in danger. So he hadn't asked, and Peter hadn't explained.
Okay, Beltran, would you read now?
Okay. Now Peter said, looking at his watch, "I will lead the first group, you and you and you." He gestured to the old man and to the young people with their baby. "Inge, Inge," he said, and Mary realized that it was the first time that she had heard Peter Nelson call her mother by her first name. Before, it had always been Mrs. Johansen, or in the old days, during the merriment and excitement of his engagement to Liz. It had been
O-
occasion,
Occasionally.
occasionally. Mama. Now it was England. It was as if he had moved beyond his own yacht and had taken his place in the world of others. Her mother nodded and waited for his instructions. "You wait 20 minutes, and then bring the roses. Don't come sooner. We must be separate on the path, so there is no less chance of being seen. Mr. Johansen not again. Come directly back to the house after you have seen the Rosens. Safely to Henrik. Stay in the shadows and on the back path. You know that, of course. By the time you get the Rosen to the boat, Peter went on. I will be gone as soon as I deliver my group. I must move on. There is other work to be done tonight. He turned to Annemarie. So I will say goodbye to you now. Annemarie went to him and gave him a hug. But we will see you again soon, she asked. I hope so, Peter said. Very soon. Don't grow much more, or you will be taller than I am, little Longlegs. Annemarie smiled, but Peter's comment was no longer the light one of the past. It was only a breath, perhaps as something that had gone. Peter kissed Mama wordlessly. Then he wished the Rosens Godspeed, and he led the others through the door. Annemarie, Mama Annemarie, and the Rosens sat in silence. There was a slight commotion outside the door, and Mama went quickly to look out. In a moment she was back. It's all right, she said, in response to their look. The old man stumbled, but Peter helped him up. He didn't seem to be hurt. Maybe just his pride, she asked, smiling a bit. It was an awkward pride. Annemarie looked at the Russian sitting there, wearing the
Misshapen.
misshapen, ill-fitting clothing, holding red blankets, so in their arms, their face dull and tired. She remembered the earlier, happier times. Mr. Rosen, her hair neatly combed and covered, lighting the Sabbath candles, saying the ancient prayer, and Mr. Rosen sitting in the big chair in their living room, studying his thick book, correcting paper, adjusting his glasses, looking up now and then to comment good-naturedly about the lack of decent light. She remembered Ellen in the school play, moving confidently across the stage, her gesture short, her voice clear. All of those things, those sorts of prize. The candlestick, the books, the daydreams of terror had been left behind in Copenhagen. They had nothing with them now. There was only the clothing of unknown people for warmth, the food from Henrik's farm for survival, and the dark path ahead through the wood to freedom. Annemarie realized, though she had not really been told, that Uncle Henrik was going to take them in his boat across the sea to Sweden. She knew how frightened Mr. Rosens was of the world, the sea. Its wind, its depth, its cold. She knew how frightened Ellen was of the soldiers with their guns and boots who were suddenly looking at them, and she knew how frightened they all must be of the future. But their soldiers weren't as straight as they had been in the past. In the classroom, on the stage, at the Sabbath table. So there were other sorts, too, of pride. and they had not left everything behind.
Okay, very good. Well, you can read the next chapter, both of you, and I will send you the questions, and you, again, send them to me when you're finished, and I will read them and correct them and send them back. And then I will see you next Wednesday.
Okay.
And you both have a very good week. Okay?
Okay.
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 Yeah.
Very nice to see you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.